Okay, so are you ready to dive deep into some serious mystery?
Always up for a good mystery, especially one that's as infamous as this one.
Right. Today it's the Zodiac Killer. Ciphers, cryptic messages, unsolved murders.
Yeah.
The whole 9 yards.
Yeah, this case, it's like one of those puzzles you can never quite put down, even after all these years.
It's true. We're talking late 60s, early 70s, Northern California. And this guy, the Zodiac, terrorized the entire area. And the thing is, we still don't know who he was.
That's the biggest hook, isn't it? The mystery of the Zodiac's identity. And what's wild is, even though we don't have a name, we have all these potential leads, these tantalizing clues.
And that's what we're diving into today. Our sources are full of these potential suspects, possible theories, but let's be real, we're probably not going to solve this thing today.
No, definitely not. But we can explore them, look at the evidence, weigh the arguments, all that fun stuff, see what makes sense, what doesn't.
Right. It's about the journey, not just the destination. And maybe, just maybe, we'll find something new, some detail that's been overlooked. But before we go full-on detective mode, let's talk about the Zodiac's, his signature, right? The ciphers.
Oh, those are fascinating. Some of them, thankfully, were cracked. Code breakers, experts, they put their heads together and figured out some of the messages. Threats, boasts, taunts, you name it.
It's like he wanted to be caught, but at the same time, he was playing this game, right? A cat and mouse kind of deal with the authorities, the public. It's creepy. But some ciphers, those are still a mystery.
And that's what makes them so intriguing. It wasn't just about hiding his identity, it was a challenge. You really have to wonder, what kind of person designs these complex ciphers?
Right. What kind of mind are we dealing with here? Someone with, I don't know, a military background, or maybe a math whiz, or even just someone really, really into puzzles. Okay, so enough about the ciphers for now. Let's get to the suspects. You've got a whole bunch of information about potential Zodiacs. Where do we even begin with all this?
Well, one name that pops up a lot, and I mean a lot, is Arthur Lee Allen. A former school teacher, lived near one of the crime scenes, and get this, he even had a Zodiac brand watch.
Wait, hold on. A Zodiac watch?
Yeah.
Seriously? That's got to be a red flag.
Great, it's almost too perfect, like something out of a movie. And it gets even weirder. This Allen guy, apparently he was obsessed with ciphers, had a bunch of books about codes, the whole shebang.
So we're talking about someone who might have had the means, the knowledge, the opportunity.
Exactly. On paper, Allen looks like a prime suspect, but here's the catch. The physical evidence, it just didn't match up. Fingerprints, nope, handwriting, nada.
So close, yet so far, huh? Like having all the ingredients for a cake, but forgetting the flour. What about other suspects? Who else are we looking at?
Another interesting name is Richard Gaikowski. This guy was a journalist for a small newspaper in San Francisco, which is intriguing because the Zodiac, well, he loved to communicate with the press.
Sending those creepy letters and ciphers, yeah. I can see why a journalist might be on the suspect list.
Right, and there are more connections. Gaikowski apparently had this thing for medieval weaponry and symbols, and guess what? The Zodiac used similar symbols in his letters.
Whoa, okay, so we're talking possible knowledge, possible access, maybe even a twisted sense of, I don't know, historical flair.
It's possible. There are also some physical similarities between Gaikowski and the composite sketches of the Zodiac that were circulating at the time.
Okay, but again, like with Allen, it seems like we're missing that definitive proof. Is that right?
That's right. Circumstantial evidence, yes. Concrete, undeniable proof, not so much. Which, honestly, is a recurring theme with this case. It's what makes it so frustrating and so fascinating.
Okay, so Allen, Gaikowski, both compelling in their own way, but without that smoking gun, so to speak. Are there any other names on this list that we should be looking at?
There's one more I want to mention, Lawrence Kane. Now, Kane wasn't really on law enforcement's radar at first, but years later, a handwriting expert, they took a look at his writing and said, this looked a lot like the Zodiac's handwriting.
Hold up, seriously. A handwriting match? That's, major, isn't it? Why wasn't he looked at more closely back then?
It's complicated. You see, Kane, he had a really bad car accident, a severe head injury, and some experts believe that this accident could have, changed him. His personality, his behavior, even triggered violent tendencies.
And when did this accident happen?
Around the same time the Zodiac killings started.
Whoa, okay, so we've got a possible motive, a potential link to the time frame, and now a handwriting match. That's a lot of pieces falling into place.
It is, but again, without that solid physical evidence like DNA or a confirmed fingerprint match, it's still just a possibility.
It's incredible how, even with all this information, we still can't say for sure who the Zodiac was. It's like mind-blowing. So where do we go from here? What do we do with all these leads, all these suspects?
It is a lot to process, isn't it? And it really makes you think, what are we missing? Is there a clue hidden in plain sight, something we've all overlooked? Or maybe the answer isn't in the evidence, but in understanding the psychology of the killer. Why the ciphers? Why the letters? Why the taunts?
It's true. Maybe it's not about finding that one piece of physical evidence, but figuring out the why behind the Zodiac's actions. What was he trying to achieve? What was the point of it all?
Exactly, and that's where you, the listener, come in. If you were trying to crack this case wide open, where would you start? What would you focus on? The ciphers, the suspects, the psychology.
It's a puzzle, that's for sure. And like any good puzzle, it takes time, patience, and maybe even a little bit of luck to solve it. So keep those detective hats on, listeners. The case is far from closed.